The master craftsman in our next story is originally from Mario, England, but his love for making fine instruments first brought him to Music City about 40 years ago. Well, since then, he's built or repaired guitars for rock and roll royalty from Aerosmith to U2. Cindy Carter recently met him and learned the wonderful stories behind Lacey guitars.
Puts it up to about 300 degrees.
After 45 years of carefully bending, hammering, and cutting pieces of wood into specific shapes and sizes, guitar maker Mark Lacey can confidently answer the question every professional, amateur, and wannabe musician asks.
What constitutes a great guitar? Well, it's got to feel comfortable in your hands, it's got to play in tune, it's got to look good, and it's got to have structural integrity.
Integrity is a pretty powerful word for Mark. After all, it's his name carefully carved into his finished pieces.
Well, I just really enjoy what I do. You know, it encompasses quite a few different skill sets. You know, you're striving to make the perfect guitar.
Inside his Kingston Springs basement, under the watchful eyes of his trusted companion cowboy, Mark patiently, very patiently, works through the many steps required when one builds an instrument from raw materials.
Nice ring to it.
Born in Australia, Mark grew up in London, where as a young man, the London College of Furniture caught his attention.
One day I was looking through a careers book and I saw a course on musical instrument technology.
Technology? Yeah. But Mark says what he really got was a strong foundation for working with his hands. Intricate, delicate, tricky, often complex handiwork. Work that initially in his professional career centered around instrument repairs.
Really your bread and butter living in this business for a lot of people is doing repairs. You know, you've got the cash flow. Building projects can sometimes take months, but you know, those repairs are what help pay the bills.
After school, Mark eventually moved to the U.S. and settled in Los Angeles, where for more than a decade he paid the bills doing repair work for an impressive client list. The soft-spoken artist isn't comfortable dropping names. We had to prod him a bit.
I've done repair work for Stevie Ray Vaughan, Paul McCartney, Pink Floyd. There's so many, I don't remember them.
But the whole time he was in California, Mark was dreaming about doing less repair and more building. His vision, his designs.
I like to do original designs because why copy something else?
Moving to Tennessee allowed him to finally tip the scales in that direction. Confidently, successfully, but somewhat quietly. He's just not a flashy guy.
You know, I've been here since '95, and I guess I'm sort of been under the radar a bit, you know, being out here in Kingston Springs. I don't go around and network a lot and hit the clubs to, you know, meet the bands or try and get backstage.
Mark essentially makes 4 types of guitars: flat top, arch top, semi-solid electric, and recently some bass guitars. He admits for purely selfish reasons.
I've always been a bass player more than the guitar player, and I had some ideas about how to build a bass that didn't weigh as much, and resonated more, so I experimented around.
Those experiments include using different woods, shells, and other raw materials for the guitar body, the neck, which contribute to the instrument's overall sound.
Different guitars use different traditional woods, like arch tops are mostly made with a figured maple and a spruce top. And the maple is either eastern maple or west coast maple. Flat top guitars traditionally are rosewood with spruce or cedar tops, mahogany necks.
Mark has figured out a few of the finer points along the way, but remains grateful for those early years in school where learning how to build fretted instruments shaped his current decorative and intricate style.
And they get inlaid into these channels.
As impressive as his literal handiwork is, Mark doesn't shy away from technology, also using this computer numerical control or CNC cutting machine to carve out some of his guitar parts.
I draw the design in the computer. The computer will write the code and prepare what's called a processor file, which the machine can read.
Sometimes a client tells Mark to go for it. Other times they just want something very specific. But no matter what the job, Mark's creative flair can always be found in the end result.
Like the time a client wanted Mark to build a guitar around his fiancee's personality, a redhead who liked her horse, sea turtles, owls, and is partial to blue instruments. Okay.
On the headstock I put a sea turtle made out of different kinds of shell. For the horse I put it on the pickguard. Then the tailpiece, which was metal, had an owl in there with some sort of in the woods at night, moon in the background with some trees and leaves. So it was a very ornate piece to do.
Western red cedar _red was used for the top of the guitar, and blue sunburst on the back and sides completed the look. Everybody was pleased.
And that's what gives me the satisfaction. If they're happy, I'm happy.
And Mark is happy. He's got a cowboy at his side, a humming business, and he gets to answer the question over and over: what constitutes a great guitar?